Well, hello students. I hope you all are safe and in good health. Well, पिछले वीडियो लेक्चर्स में हम लोगों ने बात की थी about different types of taxonomy. Then we spoke about the nomenclature and in nomenclature particularly about the binomial nomenclature and trinomial nomenclature methods. We saw some rules. Well, uh, हम लोगों ने ये भी देखा था कि टैक्सोनॉमी के देयर आर थ्री फंडामेंटल स्टेप्स एंड दोज वर आइडेंटिफिकेशन, क्लासिफिकेशन एंड nomenclature. So nomenclature part we have already covered. In this video lecture what we are going to cover is about classification. Yeah. So classification. Now the first thing that comes up is what is classification, right? uh, how will we define classification? So how we define is it is the classification is art of grouping organisms into most relevant taxonomical group or groups on the basis of their features and relationships. Okay, now ये definition I know थोड़ा सा boring सा है, इसका मतलब क्या है? देखिए बेसिकली क्लासिफिकेशन एक प्रोसेस है, एक आर्ट है. ओके, बाय विच जो कोई भी नया ऑर्गेनिज्म आपको मिला है या कोई भी जो एग्जिस्टिंग ऑर्गेनिज्म आपको मिला है उसको आप उसके सबसे रेलिवेंट टैक्सोनॉमिकल ग्रुप में क्या करते हो, असाइन कर देते हो, उसमें आप उसको ग्रुप कर देते हो, कैटेगराइज कर देते हो. और ये सब आप कैसे डिसाइड करोगे कि कौन सा रेलिवेंट ग्रुप है? ये आप करते हो ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ देयर फीचर्स और कैरेक्टर्स and their relationships. राइट नाउ से फॉर एग्जांपल है ना, हम एक एग्जांपल से समझते हैं. सपोज कीजिए कि आपको एक अलग तरह का ऑर्गेनिज्म मिला एंड नाउ दिस ऑर्गेनिज्म हैज लीव्स, हैज स्टेम एंड रूट. करेक्ट. नाउ ऑब्वियसली जैसे ही आप ये चीज देखोगे आप समझ जाओगे इट इज नॉट एन एनिमल बट इट इज अ प्लांट. करेक्ट. सो द फीचर्स such as having root, stem, leaves, this makes you to assign this particular organism into plant kingdom and not into animal kingdom, right? So you have classified it into the relevant taxonomical group, that is plant kingdom, not the animal kingdom, and this you are doing on the basis of its characters, its features, right? Similarly suppose कीजिए कि आपके पास एक plant मिला और उस plant में what you find is there is no seed formation. Correct. If there is no seed formation it means क्या होगा? This plant will fall either in pteridophyte, bryophyta or algae. It is not going to fall in gymnosperm and angiosperms, right? इसी तरह से आप क्या कर रहे हो, किसी भी जो नया ऑर्गेनिज्म आपको मिला है उस ऑर्गेनिज्म को उसके फीचर्स के या उसके कैरेक्टर्स के बेसिस पे एक रेलिवेंट ग्रुप में क्लासिफाई करना, कैटेगराइज करना या उसको एक पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप असाइन करने को ही हम क्या कहते हैं? क्लासिफिकेशन, है ना? ना इसको और थोड़े आसान से आप देख सकते हो फ्रॉम अनदर एग्जांपल. लाइक सपोज कीजिए कि आपका एक क्लासरूम है और उस क्लासरूम में देयर आर 10 स्टूडेंट्स एंड you have been asked to classify these 10 students into say for example 3 categories on the basis of their merit or maybe the score, the percentage that they have achieved in a particular exam. आप क्या करोगे? सपोज कीजिए आपने कैटेगरी बना दिया up to 50% and then 51 to say 80% and then 80% above. 3 ग्रुप हो गए. सो आपने उन स्टूडेंट्स को 3 ग्रुप में डिवाइड किया ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ देयर मार्क्स. वैसे ही हम जो भी कोई नया ऑर्गेनिज्म आता है उस ऑर्गेनिज्म को उसके कैरेक्टर्स या उसके फीचर्स के बेसिस पे एक पर्टिकुलर रेलिवेंट ग्रुप असाइन करते हैं और इसी पूरे प्रोसेस को हम क्या कहते हैं? क्लासिफिकेशन. करेक्ट. वेल too much of discussion हो गया यहाँ पे. Anyways, so do remember that classification is a process or art of grouping organism. Very well. Now, second question is why we need to do classification, right? Most relevant question, why we need to do that. Now, the answer lies in the fact that there are around 1.7 to 1.8 million species on this planet. right? Now, studying all of them is a tedious task. So what will we do? We are going to classify them into groups on the basis of similarity, so that we do not have to study in detail about all the organisms of that particular group. Rather, किसी एक organism को हम लेंगे, पढ़ लेंगे, and we will have a fair idea of all the members of that group, right? So by doing this, you are going to ease the whole process of learning about different species, about memorizing them, about naming them, right? So see, why we do this? The need for classification is to arrange organisms into groups so that we can ease the process of naming. We can ease the process of remembering about them, to ease the process of studying them. Okay? So classification का यही मोटो है, so that हम उनको अच्छे से पढ़ पाए, आसानी से पढ़ पाए. Okay? Very good. Now, let's see the different types of biological classification, right? Now, biological classification is a good thing, but different times पे हमने different तरीके, different approach use किए हैं to classify organisms into different groups. Okay, so let's see that. Yeah, first of all, let me move it up. Okay, great. So the very first type of biological classification, which happens to be the most oldest one, the earliest one, is called practical classification, right? Now, see the practical classification. Now, I'm saying it is the earliest system of classification. मतलब ये सबसे पहले आया, सबसे oldest system है. और ये क्या है? चलिए देखिए. Now, in this classification, in this system of classification rather, or in this type of biological classification, the classification is done on the basis of the human use of that particular plant species or its economic importance, right? Say for example, on the basis of economical importance or human use, we classify different plants as cereals, correct? Or medicinal plants, or maybe like pulses, oil yielding plants, fiber yielding plants, or for that matter, timber yielding plants. So plants को हम अर्ली सिविलाइजेशंस में भी जो ह्यूमंस थे उन्होंने अलग अलग ग्रुप्स में क्या किया, क्लासिफाई किया, सीरियल्स, पल्सेस, मेडिसिन्स, एंड दीज वर डन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ कि उनका यूज क्या है, ह्यूमन यूज क्या है, या उनका इकोनॉमिकल इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है. Okay, so this is the most earliest and the most basic type of classification which we now study as practical classification. Okay, तो आपको fair idea लग रहा है यार कि classification क्या है. Okay, let's move to the next type of classification. Now, the next type of classification is artificial classification. Okay. Now, artificial classification was proposed by Carolus Linnaeus. ठीक है, याद रखिए Carolus Linnaeus ने बहुत सारा काम किया, especially in the field of taxonomy. ठीक है, उन्होंने binomial nomenclature दिया है, उन्होंने बहुत सारे आर्टिफिशियल क्लासिफिकेशन के मेथड को दिया है, प्लस बहुत सारे प्लांट्स एंड एनिमल्स का क्लासिफिकेशन किया है. सो ही डिड अ ग्रेट जॉब इन द फील्ड ऑफ टैक्सोनॉमी. है ना, कार्लोस लिनियस को याद रखिएगा, ही इज लेजेंडरी इन दिस फील्ड. वेरी वेल. सो कार्लोस लिनियस ने one of the earliest scientific method of classification there, which is known as artificial classification. Now, what is this? Let's see. In this method, the classification is done on the basis of only few morphological characters. Remember, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ only few. The number is important here, right? तो यहाँ पे artificial classification जो Carolus Linnaeus के द्वारा किया गया, इसमें हम किसी भी plant species को mainly, है ना, classify करते हैं only on few morphological features, such as number of stamens, or maybe morphological character of stem, leaf, or root. Say for example, if two plants have similar type of or similar looking leaves, they have similar looking flower, they have similar looking overall morphology of the plant, plus they have similar number of stamens in their flower. Okay, just to tell you, stamens are the uh, unit of androecium. They are the male part in a flower. Okay, now, so if two plants look similar, they have same type of leaves, they have flowers having same number of stamens, then as per this classification, they are exactly same plant, or maybe they are closely related plants, so they should be grouped into the same group. Okay, great. So this is the artificial classification. Now, what is the demerit of artificial classification? Let me tell you here only, okay? Remember, the morphological features such as the morphology of stem, leaf, root, okay? Now, these are vegetative characters, correct? I'm putting aside the number of stamen very carefully. Pay attention, okay? Uh, that I'm talking about only the vegetative part, that is stem, leaf, root, and the morphology of the vegetative parts are very much susceptible to the environmental pressure. Environmental pressures such as the climatic conditions, that is temperature, what is the overall average wind velocity in that area, okay, what is the moisture and things like that. Okay, so if there is a change in the in the climatic condition of an area, it will drastically affect the morphology of the vegetative parts of a plant. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is, if you have two plants of same species and you are growing them in two different geographical regions having drastically different climatic conditions, then both the plants, despite being the members of same species, their morphology of stem, leaf will vary drastically. Okay, or in other words, suppose you have two mango trees of same variety. One you are planting in India, the other one you are planting in some other environmental condition. Okay, there is a likelihood that both these plants will have different type of leaf, different morphology leaf, their stem may vary. Okay, uh, another very good example you can draw here is the bonsais. Once you change the overall conditions of growth for a plant, its overall height may be hampered, as we find in case of bonsai. Okay, so and the artificial classification is based on these morphological features, which are very much susceptible to the climatic condition. Therefore, it is not a very efficient method, because if we follow this method, then two plants of same species growing in two different geographical area will be considered as two different plants, not of the same species. Okay, and that will be a wrong classification. Okay, great. So this is the demerit of artificial classification, that it is only based on the morphological characters, and that too only a couple of them. Okay, the strongest point of artificial classification is it uses stamens, and stamen being the part of reproductive structure, the change is slow, or it does not get uh, affected as much as the vegetative characters by the environmental pressure. Okay, very well. So this was artificial classification. The next method that was that we know is called natural system of classification. Okay, or we also call it as phylogenetic classification. Okay, now this came in place because of obvious faults or drawbacks of the artificial classification. Okay, now if we see the system of natural classification or phylogenetic classification, what we find that here we do the classification on the basis of complete morphological features or characters, okay, not only a few of them. In artificial classification, we were taking only a few morphological characters, but here in natural system or phylogenetic system, we do the classification on the basis of complete morphological characters plus evolutionary relationships, okay, plus anatomical characters. So here the classification is not just based on one or two morphological characters, rather it is based on the complete morphological characters plus anatomical characters plus its evolutionary relationship. Now evolutionary relationship is called phylogeny, and that's why it is also known as phylogenetic classification. And therefore the natural system of classification or phylogenetic system of classification is far better than the artificial system of classification. Okay? Now, still, the natural system of classification or phylogenetic classification is not foolproof, and there are chances of errors. And that's why today the taxonomists, है ना, taxonomist हम बोलते हैं all the scientists who are involved or who do their research in the field of taxonomy, okay, जिनका field of study taxonomy है उनको हम क्या कहते हैं, taxonomists, such as Carolus Linnaeus. He is the most legendary taxonomist, okay. So आज की डेट में जो taxonomist हैं वो एक अलग ही मेथड यूज करते हैं, which is the fourth type of classification, and that we call as Adansonian or phonetic or numerical classification. Okay, now what is it? Okay, so if we talk about Adansonian or phonetic or numerical classification, as the name says, it is numerical. Okay, so we are going to do the classification here on the basis of certain numbers, okay, certain figures. Now, what are they and how do we calculate them? Let's understand that this type of classification is done on the basis of all possible characters that we can gather or that we can observe, such as morphological characters, anatomical characters, evolutionary relationships, okay, all of this. So we first of all, what we do is we gather all the possible information or features or characters about a plant, okay, and then we give each character or feature a particular value, okay, such as these values are based on what kind of character it is. Suppose it is a morphological character, then the value will be less. Suppose it is an anatomical character, value will be more. Suppose it is an evolutionary character, then again the value will be more. If it is some genetic factor, even more. Okay, if it is reproductive, more than morphological features. Okay, so what we do is we are gathering all the possible characters, okay, and we are assigning each character a particular value, and then we feed this entire data into a computer, okay. So the computer will have all these characters about that plant, and every character will be given certain weightage in terms of number, and then there is an algorithm. This algorithm is going to match all these features, okay, all these features with the existing database, which contains the characters of all the plants or all the uh, groups of plants, okay, and then on the basis of matching, it will give a particular number, and it will ultimately calculate a particular score, okay, and this score usually comes in terms of percentage, that how much percentage that particular plant is similar to a particular known variety, okay. Now what you find is the percentage match with every plant that you know or every group of plants that you know. For the group which have maximum similarity, obviously this plant is more closer to that, and hence we will assign or classify this new plant into that particular category. Okay, so here what we are doing, here we are doing the classification on the basis of a score. You know, where is the maximum score, this plant will belong to that category. And that's why this whole system of classification is called numerical classification or phonetic classification. Okay, do remember it is also known as Adansonian classification. Now, just to give you an example, suppose there are two plants. Okay, one is mango of say variety, a particular variety like Alfonso. Okay, and there is another mango plant that you found recently found. Okay, uh, which you don't know, or there is no documented proof that is it is a new variety of mango in a jungle. Right, now what you did is, this for this new variety you don't know what it is, so you started gathering all the morphological features. What is the shape of leaf, what is the color of the leaf, right? What is the uh, venation of the leaf, what is the overall morphology of the plant, what kind of root it has, okay, what is its flowering pattern, what kind of flowers are there, okay, and a lot of then anatomical characters, its evolutionary characters. You are going to gather all the information about this plant, and then you are going to assign certain values. Suppose shape of leaf, you will assign lesser value because it can change as per the environmental conditions. Okay, but if there is some more anatomical characters or some floral characters, you are going to give better weightage to it, and then you feed it into a computer and do a run. What you will find that this plant is showing maximum similarity to Alfonso type mango plant. Okay, and less than that to uh, like neem tree. Okay, even lesser to tulsi tree or tulsi plant, right? Even lesser to uh, sugarcane or maybe maize. Okay, and drastically different from animals or bacteria. Correct. So you are going to get the maximum score for the mango plant. And that's why what you will conclude out of this whole exercise is the plant that you have found is actually a type of mango plant, mango tree. And accordingly, now you are going to classify it into the family of mango, into the genus of mango. Okay, so this is how this numerical classification or phonetic or Adansonian classification works. Okay, I hope you understand. Great. Okay, so uh, on this or by the method of this classification, what you are going to do is, or what taxonomists do is, they classify the organisms into particular categories, right? Now these categories are called taxonomical categories. Okay, now there are many taxonomical categories, but here in this video lecture or in this course, we are going to focus on only the 7 main or broad taxonomical categories. Okay, now each category, there are 7, but each category is called a taxon. Okay, each category is called taxon. Now taxon is a singular word, its plural is taxa. Okay, so when you see these two words, don't get confused. Taxon is singular, taxa is plural. Okay, and taxon or taxa is a category. Any taxonomical category is called a taxon. Okay, great. Now let's see the 7 broad taxonomical categories that we need to study. Okay, the first one is called kingdom. The second one is called phylum or division. Then is the class, order, family, genus, and finally species. Okay, we are going to number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7. Okay, now so all these 7 are the taxonomical categories, and each category is a taxon. Say for example, kingdom is one taxon, phylum is also a taxon, class is also a taxon. Okay, so all these 7 are nothing but taxonomical taxa. They are all our groups. Now, out of this, some groups are smaller, some are bigger. Okay, and what I have done is I have arranged it in a descending order. So kingdom is the largest taxonomical category. Okay, then comes the phylum or division, then class, then order, then family, then genus, and the smallest taxonomical category is a species. Okay, now what we are seeing here is there is an order. Okay, there is a particular hierarchy into this whole uh, taxons or taxonomical categories, and this hierarchy is called taxonomical hierarchy. Okay, so hierarchy, you know, so बड़े से छोटा कौन से रैंक में है उस तरह से, ठीक है. सो टैक्सोनॉमिकल कैटेगरीज जो हैं ये इनमें एक हायरार्की है, एंड दिस हायरार्की इज फ्रॉम किंगडम टू स्पीसीज. Very well. Let's understand some other things. Now, do note that out of all these 7 taxonomical categories, only the species, species has the physical significance, or it is the physical group or category. Okay, rest all are theoretical. That is, if you go in nature and if you'll ask me that where is class, I can't show you. It's a group that we have created. Okay, but if you ask me species, yes, there is independent individual or physical existence of a species. Okay, so species is the only real or physical group or category, rest all are theoretical. Okay, it is similar to as if uh, go to the previous example, I asked you to categorize the 10 students in a class into 3 groups on the basis of their scores, right? Now, if I would have asked that you have categorized them into 3 groups, how are they categorized? Where is the line? Where is the boundary there? There is no theoretical boundary. There is no physical boundary, right? Because the classification was just on paper. It was not a physical. Similarly, here, all these 7 taxonomical categories, out of all these 7 taxonomical categories, only species has physical existence. Rest all are theoretical. They all are on paper. Okay, great. Now, there is one confusion you may ask, that at the second taxonomical category or taxonomical hierarchy, there are 2 words, phylum as well as division. Why it is so? Okay, now it is so because if we are classifying animals, okay, then we use phylum as a taxonomical category. If we are classifying plants, then we use division instead of phylum. Okay, so phylum is used for animal classification and division is used for plant classification. Do remember. Not only this, these 7 categories, not all, but a lot of them have a particular suffix. Okay, so from suffix you can differentiate if you're talking about species, genus or family or order or class. Okay, now let's see them. Sorry. Now, suppose there is division. Okay, so if there's a plant और उसका हम division लिख रहे हैं, तो उस division word के पीछे एक हम suffix add करते हैं phyta. Okay, so always we use phyta as a suffix for division. Similarly, if it is class, then we use physi or only e, ae, or we use opsida, जैसे bryopsida, silopsida. ठीक है, ये सब जब हम लोग प्लांट किंगडम का चैप्टर पढ़ रहे होंगे तो आपको ज्यादा अच्छे से क्लियर होगा. ओके, जब हम लोग क्लासिफिकेशन देखेंगे इनका. ओके, सो फाइटा फॉर डिवीजन, क्लास के लिए फाइसी, ई या ऑप्सिडा. अगर ऑर्डर है तो इसके लिए हम सफिक्स यूज करते हैं एल्स. ओके, एल्स, ALES. ओके, ग्रेट. अगर फैमिली है तो इसके लिए यूज करते हैं AC. ओके, जैसे सोलानेसी या मालवेसी. ओके, सो C is for family. ग्रेट. तो ये सब ज्यादा क्लियर होगा जब हम लोग स्लोली प्लांट किंगडम को पढ़ रहे होंगे. अभी के लिए सिर्फ याद रखिएगा कि ये सफिक्स क्या होते हैं डिवीजन के लिए फाइटा, क्लास के लिए फाइसी, ई या ऑप्सीडा। उसमें भी सबसे अधिक जो यूज होता है प्लांट्स में वो फाइसी होता है। ओके, ऑर्डर के लिए एल्स, ओके, और फैमिली के लिए एसी। ग्रेट। एक और चीज हम लोग देखते हैं जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ध्यान दीजिए। व्हेन यू सी दिस टैक्सोनॉमिकल हायरार्की, ओके, एज यू मूव फ्रॉम टॉप टू बॉटम, यानी कि if you are moving from kingdom to species into this taxonomical hierarchy, what will happen is the two species, the two species who are in the same genus will be having maximum similarity as compared to two species of the same kingdom. Okay, so what is happening is as you move downward into this taxonomical hierarchy, the number of common characters is increasing. Okay, the similarity is increasing. Okay, whereas if you do the opposite of it, that if you are moving from a species to kingdom, okay, you are moving upward, what will happen? The total number of common characters will decrease. The amount of similarity will decrease. However, the total number of type of species will increase. So number of species will increase as you go from bottom to top, that is from species to kingdom, whereas the number of similar characters will increase as you go from top to bottom, that is from kingdom to species. Okay, so do remember this part. There has been question asked relating to the number of common characters or the total number of species or different types of species, as you move upward or downward into the taxonomical hierarchy. Very well. I hope आप लोगों को समझ में आ रहा होगा कि classification क्या होता है. Okay. Now, this is all for this video. Next video lecture में हम लोग बात करेंगे about taxonomical aids. Okay, so what are the taxonomical aids? Okay, और कैसे ये taxonomical aids help करते हैं in the process of identification, and then on the basis of identification you follow the classification, finally nomenclature and taxonomy is done. Okay, so next video lecture में we will study about taxonomical aids. Very well, so stay tuned and stay safe. Thank you.